Hey everybody, welcome to episode 193 of Is This Thing Working? Here it is on a Friday, end of the week again. Man, it just seems like I can remember what we done Monday. If that's some great accomplishment, I can remember our show from Monday, man, but it has seemed like a really quick week this week. Had a lot of stuff going on. We've had the convention of lies. It's went on all week, man. The gaslighting convention, the lie convention. It's been horrible, man. And, you know, we talked about this yesterday, Denise, me and you did. Matter of fact, good morning. How are you doing?
I am doing awesome today. He's all raring to go.
Can you tell him ready to, yeah.
Well, that's because it's Friday and we've had so much to talk about with the DN chaos going on all week.
Right.
And man, has it been a bucket of lies, just like you said.
Yeah.
Over and over again. Nothing but gaslighting.
And you think about it, man. If you're an undecided voter, if you're a logical, practical, moral person, and you watch this DNC and you go, well, you know, man, I'm kind of undecided. I don't know really who I'm going to vote for this year, but here, I'm going to listen to these guys and give them a chance. Like I say, if you're halfway paying attention to what's going on around you, if you're a halfway logical or thinking person, you watch these last 4 nights of this crap, and I expect one of 3 reactions. Either you go, damn, I can't do that. I gotta vote for the other side because Kamala's crazy. Or you go, I'm gonna vote for Trump. You're not gonna change my mind. You guys are lying to me. Or the third reaction is you literally just sit there with your mouth open in pure disbelief. That this is actually happening. This is so dystopian. It's crazy, man.
Well, you know, I sat there over the last few days and kind of compared and contrasted Republican National Convention to the Democrat National Convention. And of course, I will say this, you know, President Trump had just been shot, you know, so everyone was unified behind him 100%. And they talked about unity. They talked about inviting people in and bringing people on, you know, and like you said, for those in the middle, please come in and join us, you know, and the Democrats tried to do that. They tried in their own dystopian way to say, hey, come over here. They even brought Republicans that aren't Republicans any longer on and did all that. They're like, here, come to our side. But in the same breath, they would dog half of the country.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, and we have a lot of video we're going to show you today. Our show is all about videos
and sound
bites.
Yep.
Because this is what's going to win the election. And let me tell you, Kamala Harris, after her speech yesterday, there is no one in my sphere or even in any sphere that I see that are on her side. We know that the people of America are on the side of common sense. And the fact that Kamala Harris used that at all, when none of her policies for 3.5 years have been about common sense or been about the middle class or been about securing the border or been about doing away with 87,000 IRS agents. And why hasn't she done this? She says on day one, she's going to do But guess what? She's had 3.5 years to do it.
Her day one was J20 of 2021.
That was it.
That was her day one.
Anything that she says is really, you know, and some people said this, they said the quiet part out loud. They said, well, we got 70 days to act normal, and then after that we can go crazy. This is what they do. And if you don't hear all of it, then you're not going to know, because it's all about gaslighting and pointing the finger at someone else. Always.
Yep. We would like to welcome our new sponsor to Is This Thing Working? So help us welcome Cornbread Hemp. Their mission is to draw on Kentucky's 250-year legacy of growing hemp, as well as the state's unique climate and soil, to manufacture the highest quality cannabis products available in America. They proudly offer full-spectrum, USDA organic CBD products with up to 2 milligrams of THC per serving. Their plants are grown in what's known as the Bluegrass Basin, which produces the highest quality hemp alongside the best bourbon and fastest racehorses. Cornbread Hemp is one of the very few, if not only, CBD brands in America who exclusively use the hemp flower to create their CBD extract, called Flower Only CBD, and they want the world to know.
Please check out Cornbread Hemp by going to cornbreadhemp.com right now for a 30% off your initial purchase of any products on the website. Again, go to cornbreadhemp.com and use promo code ITTW for this special offer. Remember, you get 30% off, promo code ITTW. Thanks, everybody, for supporting our sponsors. And we want to state, these are our opinions and our assertions. And if you agree with us, tell your friends and share the show.
And if you don't agree with us, tell your friends and share our show. Also, hey, stomp that like button. And please follow or subscribe wherever you see the name Is This Thing Working? And our podcast, it's available for downloads on all platforms like Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Whenever you're in your car, whenever you're sitting around the house, you ain't got much to do, you want to hear something, check us out. Also,
download that Rumble app so you can follow the show, and you will receive instant notifications when we go live Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And please, everybody, go to Rumble. That is where our main video is gone live at. And so we appreciate everybody following and sharing on Rumble. We do appreciate that because we need the numbers on Rumble. Everywhere else is just going out of control. We really want some numbers on Rumble. We need to make Rumble our place to go, the conservative live stream. So we're really pushing Rumble right now.
Well, let's move on then. Let's get into what we always get into very first, which is Bannon Watch. And Steve has been a political prisoner now for 52 days. 52 days.
I know. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I miss him terribly.
But, man, we always got a message from Steve. Whatever Steve says to you 2 years ago is going to be the same encouragement and message that he's going to give to you 2 years from now. So here's something that we got from Steve. It's a good message for all of us. Helps us with our task and with our purpose.
They are maniacally focused on the defeat of Trump, and the defeat of Trump is the defeat of you. Everybody in this country under 40 is going to be nothing more than a Russian serf. Yes, and that is what is about, the concentration of wealth and the concentration of power. And they won't give it up without a fight. And they are out to destroy. I don't care if you can't stand the sound of Trump's voice. You have to understand something. This fight even transcends President Trump, because President Trump was an instrument of divine providence in 16 and in his time in the White House. Their ceiling in 20 was providential. Why? Because they've put all their cards on the table of exactly how radical they will be. Culturally, on a societal basis, through every institution you have. Look at every institution in this country that they've gotten their hands on. Do you think it's in a better place? Do you think it was what was bequeathed to you by previous generations of patriots? Do you think that? Well, if that's what you think, then fine. Then you're with them. I got that. It's a free country. Come to your own conclusions. Because the assets are controlled by the oligarchs, and they ain't going to give them up. They're not going to give them up. They're not going to pat you in the head and say, hey, you're great. You're American citizens. We love you. You're so terrific. You provide the underpinnings of civic society. Isn't this terrific? We're going to give you some goodies. Not going to happen. And that's what this fight's about. And this fight is only, I would love to say that this is going to be easy and it's all going to be great. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a grind. Every day is going to be a grind from now to election day and beyond. So don't think this is going to be easy. It's going to be tough, and it's going to get tougher. But for those of you who understand we're an inflection point in American history, the history of this republic, it's not only not too hard. We welcome the fight. We welcome this challenge, and we will never back down.
Exactly, 100%. We will never back down. Don't ever forget that. And you know what? Is this thing working? Is going on the road. We have listened to Steve Bannon. We have been telling you all of the points that we wanted you to do, like call to action. We wanted you to do protectthevote.com, turnoutfortrump.com, trumpforce47.com, and believers.donaldjtrump.com. Now we have chose one of those, and we are going on the road. Pretty soon we're going to be in Georgia, going house to house to house to house. So we're going to change the show around. It's going to be real exciting. We are going live from Georgia. We don't have all of the details yet. We're not for sure exactly what day, but I'm telling you, we've been doing this show right here for a solid 6 months, 8 months actually.
Yeah.
For a solid 8 months, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. But now we're going to have to change it around because it is imperative that it takes every one of us to make sure this election happens the way we need it to happen, the way every vote counts. Every citizen's vote counts, and we need to be out there talking to people. So we're going on the road, and we're so excited.
Yep. Hopefully the plan is canvas by day, podcast by night.
That's it.
Hopefully our
And we'll have
plan.
plenty of videos and people that we're going to talk to, and we'll go around the city and get the pulse.
Yep.
Get the pulse of the people in different states. So we're really excited.
You know, you speak about the pulse of the people, and we look at the polls all the time. You see every poll, and one day, man, Kamala's 2 points ahead. One day, Kamala's 3 points down. One day, Trump is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and the next day, he's not. But I'm going to tell you, a poll that I seen the other day, and I believe this reflects the true pulse of the country and the voters, and probably, to tell you the truth, probably even the world, because Elon Musk put out a poll the other day.
Oh, I seen that.
Yeah. And did you see the results?
Yeah, wasn't it like 5 million people, too, that also polled
Exactly.
that poll?
And it was around over 70% would vote for Trump as the 20 to 23% that would vote for Kamala. I believe that's the true pulse of the country. And
that's what we're fighting.
And yes, exactly. And the only reason that they're even trying to make this a race or an issue is because that 20% is kind of loud. And that's what we've got to overcome too. We got to be louder than that 20%.
We do. And they continue. We talk about this all the time, about how they like to keep the country, even 50-50, by one vote. Everything is by one vote all the time. But honestly, the people in America, the actual people, it doesn't even add up to that one vote. So when we elect Republicans to do Republican things and they do Democrat things,
right?
Then I'm sorry, you
Adam
are the
Kinzinger,
problem.
Like Adam Kinzinger.
There's several of them, and a lot of them have retired this year, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we have another War Room co-host that we want to let you hear from, because she has been on fire all week, letting us know exactly what's happening. Listening to Natalie Winters here.
Yep, and this was from her last night at the DNC. This was her take on the things that she was seeing going on.
Maybe turning Texas blue. I think the most coveted political scalp that Democrats could have would be packing the court, doing whatever court reforms that they want. And I think they are very serious. And I think the way you can tell is you look at the way their dark money operations have been dispersing copious amounts of money to go after the Supreme Court, and to the point that Kamala Harris's communications director, the guy running her entire campaign, he used to run, I believe it was Demand Justice, the activism group that was organizing all the protests outside of Kavanaugh's house and, trying to threaten Supreme Court justices. And I think when you sort of take a step back, I think that is what is so interesting right now about the DNC, the really political charade that is going on, where they like to spin it as a tale of two cities, of two events, the protesters outside and the speeches at the podium at night, different by day, different by night. But in reality, all of those entities are funded by the same people, whether it's the Tides Foundation, whether it's Open Society Foundation. They are all aligned financially. Yeah, they get whipped up over certain issues, depending on the election cycle, depending on the month. But in reality, they all march in lockstep. And I think the people outside maybe are just a little more comfortable with admitting how far they're willing to go to achieve their ends. But that, at the end of the day, is, I think, the blueprint and the template for what the Democratic Party wants to operate under. What you're seeing at night, what you're seeing with these speeches, is their best effort, their best-ditch effort to try to get normal Americans to come on board. And with the policy proposals that are even codified within the DNC platform, including the U.S. Citizenship Act, which would give citizenship not just to 15 million Americans or illegal aliens that have been let in under Harris, they would go out and find previously deported criminal aliens and grant them citizenship while giving them free healthcare, housing, textbooks, you name it. And that is truly radical. So they can stand up there and say freedom, but I don't really think freedom matters if you're living under, mass amnesty and just cultural chaos where you can't even go outside because you're going to get called a racist even if you look like Vivek.
You see what she's talking about? Man, she's talking about what we've been telling you about and what a lot of people have been telling you about. They're funding these illegal vote efforts. They're out here registering illegal people to vote. You can say, well, the Democrat Party's doing that. And they are. But the only reason that these NGOs are out there doing these things is because of the Harris-Biden administration funding this and putting them out there to do this.
Yeah, and this is coming and being done with your taxpayer dollars through the federal government.
That's exactly right.
And we have another clip of her, and she goes into detail of how they are, well, like she just said, she's talked about amnesty. And now the left has already started this. This has been going on, and you see our attorney generals, all of a sudden they're coming out and giving the word out. Hey, look what's happening. Look what's happening in my state. Look at your state, see what's happening. And then we had Arizona, who had made a law against illegals voting in their elections, and then the Supreme Court had to come out and say, hey, you need to go by that law because your legislator made that law. There is a lot going on. We have Alex Soros out there talking to the vice president nominee, Waltz, ain't that his name, yesterday, about funding. And so they're getting all this dark money. And listen to what Natalie Winters had to say about this.
It's not about Tim Walz, right? You're up against a system that, frankly, is funded primarily by dark black money, right, that you can't really even see. It's not about Harris. And I think we've seen the politicization of elections, sort of election warfare in a sense. And I think you're already starting to see, frankly, what I would argue, smoke signals from the establishment media when it comes to shenanigans, eccentricities, whatever you want to call it, around the election, in the sense of they're already starting to say there's shortages of election workers. They're already starting to say that you need to expect delays in election results. That's a direct headline from the Washington Post, at least when it comes to Pennsylvania. I mean, Cobb County in Georgia is spending $50,000 taxpayer dollars to buy panic buttons for election workers. Talk about stolen valor and LARPing, right? But there's this narrative that's developing that election offices, election workers, elections as an institution, right? Sort of, I think, the logical extension of the democracy critique of President Trump, are under attack. And I think that is a narrative, independent of Kamala and what she's saying, that our side needs to take very seriously, because it's not really about the polls in the sense of Kamala versus Trump, who can handle inflation better, who can handle immigration better. You're dealing with a highly politicized election that is about to start soon, and mail-in ballot signature verification. All of that is going to be something that I think has much more considerable weight in terms of impacting the election than any speech or policy platform or position that they could put out.
And what she said is so true. We're like talking about the polls all the time and how close that the mainstream media has them, including Fox. And we told you about, James told you about the poll that happened on X when there was 5 million people. And they did a breakdown of the poll. How many Democrats were on X and how many Republicans and how many independents. And there are more Democrats on X than there are Republicans. So this was a very good poll, but that doesn't matter. None of that matters. We know that the people are the ones that don't want this radical agenda that's going on. We know this, but they know it too. The only way that they can do this is by stealing our elections and redoing them, reimagining them like they do the police. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and another good point that I thought about too is when she said they're not really concerned with a lot of these things about policy, because they've already registered these people to vote, and they're banking on being able to vote with these illegal citizens and the border crossers and all of these that they have shoved into our country. They're banking on those votes regardless of what their policy is, and that's why they can hide in the basement, and that's why Kamala can stand up there and not bring policies. The only time that she did bring any policies during the night, she lied like a rug.
Yes, she definitely did lie like a rug.
President Trump has done more, and like I said the other day, President Trump has done more campaigning and more actual being out amongst the people, finding out the issues and addressing the issues at the spot where they need to be addressed at. He went to the border. Yesterday.
Yeah, President Trump unveils his new border crime policies. Listen to what he had to say.
Alien criminals, these include 10-year mandatory tough new sentences on illegal alien criminals. These include 10-year mandatory minimum sentence for anyone guilty of human smuggling, a guaranteed life sentence for anyone guilty of child trafficking, and a death penalty for anyone guilty of child or woman sex trafficking. Will also impose the death penalty on major drug dealers and traffickers in other countries on their immigration papers. There is a statement that says death for drug traffickers. Big letters, big bold letters, 10 times the size of everything else on the page. I saw it this morning. And those are the countries where they have no problem with drugs. Many of them, actually. We will also impose the death penalty for anyone killing our police, sheriffs, Border Patrol, ICE, or law enforcement officials. The death penalty with a quicker trial, not a trial that lasts for 15 years and everybody gets exhausted. We will liberate our country from the illegal alien drug dealers, robbers, murderers, gang members, and child predators. And we will make America safe again for our citizens and make it greater, stronger, better, more beautiful than ever before. And I want to thank you all, and especially our 4 very special people.
There you go. That's tough on crime. That's tough on child trafficking. That's tough border policies. You know, the only way that these things even enter into our country, there's 3 major ways. You got your airports, your ports, and you've got the border.
You know, and they say, the Biden-Harris administration, you know, we have the lowest crossings, even below Trump now. You know why? Because they're flying them in here now.
That's why I mentioned the airports. Airports, ship ports, and the border.
And they're letting all the gangs come in here. And let me tell you, folks, they're doing this and they're paying them. They're paying them to be here. They're giving them food, shelter, jobs, anything. And they're, you know, if you looked at the job list, most of the jobs created were for the illegals, not for American citizens whatsoever. And so, of course, they're paying them. So they are the new Democrat Party. They're going to vote Democrat because, hey, these people are paying me to be here for that.
Yeah, and you know, in some kind of way, I understand why a person would want to come to this country and get a better job and better themselves and better their lives and better their families. And I get that, man. And I want them to do it the legal way. The ones that bother me the most is the true fact that these countries, Venezuela, countries like that, have emptied their prisons and put them at our border. And if they couldn't come through the border crossings, they went and crossed on their own. And they're not here to come over here to make more money, to make a better life for themselves and their families. They're over here to be criminals. Those are the people that he continues to talk about. When you hear him talk about a death penalty for this or a mandatory sentence for this, he's not talking about, you know,
I know,
mom and her 4 kids that come over here, you know.
No, he's not. And with all the children that we discussed yesterday about how many children that are missing,
400,000.
where are they? And he's talking about them. He's really standing up for the children and the inhumane the inhumane policies that the Biden-Harris administration has just totally swore they were humane. They're inhumane.
Well, and all it's done is embolden the criminal side of all of this, man. That's all it's done. I mean,
really, that President Trump was at the border in Arizona yesterday. Well, here's an article in Gateway Pundit where they were talking about in Cochise County, the sheriff's deputies arrested a man who threatened to assassinate President Trump during his visit down there at the border yesterday. This was just nuts, man. I mean, there was a manhunt out after him. I was watching this. It was underway earlier after he threatened to assassinate President Trump during his visit to the border in Arizona on Thursday. Law enforcement is conducting investigation into the threats against President Trump. Charges are pending.
Yep, they're pending for a Benson resident named Ronald Lee Servud. I hope I pronounced his last name correctly. I probably didn't. He's a white man. He's 66 years old.
Yeah, he's wanted on several outstanding warrants from the state of Wisconsin for DUI failure to appear, and then from Graham County, Arizona for a hit and run and felony failure to register as a sex offender.
Yeah, and all the time that this is going on, President Trump delivered remarks in Cochise County at the border, and this was his statement from yesterday. He says, "Today, I'm going to inspect the southern border and meet with the victims whose loved ones were attacked and murdered by illegal aliens set free into America by Comrade Kamala Harris, the radical left Democrat presidential candidate who didn't receive one vote and in her earlier attempt to win against crooked Joe Biden was the first one out of 22 people to quit the race and never even made it to the first state, which was Iowa."
The choice is simple, he said. Comrade Kamala Harris will bring in hundreds of thousands more illegal alien rapists, drug dealers, and killers. But President Donald J. Trump will keep these same people out of our country and send them back to their countries where they belong. I will keep America safe. Under Comrade Kamala, America will be the most dangerous country anywhere in the world. It will revert to third world status very quickly. Yeah, President Trump pointed all that out. But they did find the guy, and we'll hear more about it, I'm sure. But today, President Trump has a rally. He's going to be rallying in Glendale, Arizona. He says he will have a special guest with him. Time of the rally is 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. He will be discussing his America First policies and vision to lower inflation and the cost of living, secure the border, and make our cities safe again. I wonder who that mystery guest is.
I bet I know.
Yeah.
It's not much of a mystery, but
Not
I bet
much
it
of
is.
a mystery, but I think it is. Could it be RFK Jr.?
It could be.
Everyone knows what happened this morning.
It could be.
And there's been rumors that he was going to drop out of the race, but
Man.
he has officially withdrawn from the presidential ballot in Arizona.
And he's come out to support Trump. That's really cool. And that is really what's been needed is for the moderate voters, the independent people who really do like RFK Jr.
That's what I call the common sense people.
The common sense people. That's exactly right. And this is a good thing. This is a good thing for the Trump campaign.
I think
Big
it is
time,
too.
man.
It says that here on the Gateway Pundit, it says the move to withdraw from the race follows previous reports circulating earlier this week that from sources close to the Kennedy campaign who had confirmed that he would be giving his endorsement to Trump this Friday. This is exactly why we think it's going to be RFK Jr. I know last night all over the place, Fox News kept trying to get President Trump to actually give the mystery man away, which I think he did. But it's okay. It's cool with that. I'm cool with that because what we need is everybody going together, voting together. But yesterday on Fox News,
on their coverage, the DNC last night, Brett Baier, he was on there and he was talking to President Trump, but then just cut him off during the interview. Here's a part of this.
President, thank you so
very much, sir.
for the time. We appreciate
about it, and they made it absolutely impossible for him. They made it that you have to get 60-70% of the vote just to get in. And you know what?
President.
In the end, the Democrats did the same thing to Joe Biden. They threw Joe Biden out of the party.
And that's
they
why
did
we
the
saw a
same
different
thing
night
as they
tonight.
did to RFK.
Mr. President, thank you so
very
much
much, sir.
for the time.
So you hear them cut him off. As soon as he said, they threw the man out of the party. They disenfranchised 14 million people. As soon as he said that, Brett Baer and them were like, whoa.
I know. I mean, and I get kind of tired of this. I am severely tired of just because they don't like what he has to say, they just immediately turn him off.
They done it to him here at the convention.
They do it everywhere.
At the border, too. They did the same thing. While one of the victims' families of border crime was standing there speaking, they cut him off.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And then the main reason they cut him off was because Greg Gutfeld was coming up live.
Ah, okay.
You know, so that's why I got confused. Greg Gutfeld's show was coming up live. They had to go to Greg. And so what I thought was pretty cool was Greg was like, I wonder if he's mad about being cut off from Brett Baer. So listen to what Greg had to say. This was kind of funny.
I don't know. I think we got to pay you a lot more money.
Hey, Mr. President, I'm live now. Say hello to my audience. So don't say anything that'll get you in trouble. All right.
I don't mind. You know, at this point, what difference does it make? We're doing well. We're leading in the polls.
All right, Mr. President.
8 points down.
Yeah.
And they said he has to get out, and they basically staged a coup.
Yeah.
And let's all see how it happens. But I think we're doing very well.
All right.
We're going to do very well.
All right, Mr. P, I gotta go. I see ya. Bye-bye. I told you he was going to call.
That was hilarious. But did you notice, too, that President Trump finished his thought that he had going on with Brett Baer when Baer cut him off?
He did.
He did not get off point. Man.
Yeah, he sure didn't. He still kept on going and mentioned the coup, which is what it was. It was an absolute coup. And we're going to go on and we're going to tell you we have we have 3 little clips that we're going to play of Kamala Harris. But before I do, let me remind you of the Biden and Harris accomplishments. They allowed 15 million unvetted illegals into the country, a historic inflation crisis, record high gas prices in all 50 states, record high consumer debt, released terrorists into the country, the Ukraine-Russia war, Israel-Hamas war, disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, violent crime skyrocketing. He tried to jail political rival in the name of democracy, lied to the American public about Joe Biden's decline, and declared war on American industry.
Record low test scores for K through 12 students, and the most unpopular president and vice president in the history of the country.
That's 100%. Everything he said right there is true.
These are their accomplishments. We got 3 examples of lies that she will stand there in front of these people and say when we know what the facts are. One of the first lies she tried to come up there and say was that President Trump tried to throw away your votes. Think about this. They just threw away 14 million voters. They just threw them to the side. But this woman has the gall to stand up here and lie. This is how terrible these people are.
Not only the chaos and calamity when he was in office, but also the gravity of what has happened since he lost the last election. Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes. When he failed, he sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol where they assaulted law enforcement officers. Not only the chaos and calamity when he was in office, but also...
There's lie number 1.
Yeah, what about your 14 million votes? You know what? She hasn't gotten any. Not zero. Not one
That is
vote.
exactly correct.
Not even for when she ran for president. Not
that
one
is exactly
vote.
Correct.
You know, so she is a 100% gaslighting you there. And President Trump did not take away anybody's vote.
None. Here's the second lie. which is either the first or second most important issue in this country, immigration and the economy. Here she is lying, blatantly lying about the border.
After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border.
Could you imagine the amount of jaws that dropped when she said that? And I'm talking about just moderate Democrats who happen to go to the convention and they stand there and they hear this. I bet you their jaws dropped open, man. It had to have.
You know, and I really have to thank President Trump for going down to the border yesterday, and he brought 4 families down there and talked to them and let people know what's really happening in their lives and what really happened. And illegals, I mean,
exactly.
It really is very disturbing that this is going on in all of our cities now.
And the reason pointed this out too is the fact that she talks about how she knows the safety and security is important. You've never been to the border.
Not one time.
Not one time.
She ain't been to Europe either, she said.
Here we go, lie number 3, and I think this was probably one of the best ones because even Sarah Fields says, hey, who's going to tell her? Listen to this. This is the 3rd lie.
Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy. His explicit intent to deploy our active duty military against our own citizens.
There's another of the biggest lies that she told last night, and I challenge each and every one of you, find truth in any of the things that she just said about President Trump.
Yes.
I bet you it'll be easier to find the truth that they have done these things for the past 3.5 years. These people act as though President Trump has been president all this time.
I know they keep using him like he's been the incumbent this whole time.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
It's amazing. You know, Biden is all of a sudden gone. Have you noticed?
Oh, yeah.
You hear nothing else about him. I mean, nothing that he did, no videos, no photos, no anything that he's done over the past 3.5 years. So what are they going to do? Just scratch it and act like it never happened and then come out with radical policies? Because, folks, that's what they're going to do. They're going to continue this radical agenda that they forced. I'm going to say this. They forced it onto Joe Biden. Somehow, some way, because he has always been moderate and he has really always been stupid. So I think that they just forced him on him. I believe she was part of the process. She stood in the background and she's admitted herself she was the last person in the room with Afghanistan. And let's not ever forget the 13 people that perished under her watch in Afghanistan while we watched it on TV.
Yep.
Do not ever forget that they tried to jail their political rival in the name of their democracy. Don't ever forget that. They are the ones that are destroying democracy.
Is this thing working?
Rise up.
Well, hey, everybody, that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. Hope you've learned some things about what's going on around us in the nation and in your communities. You know, we couldn't do this without your continued support either. We appreciate all of you showing up, taking the time to listen to us today. So please, like I say, make sure to hit the like button, share our show with all your friends. We'll see you next time on Is This Thing Working? And as always, I'm James, and that's my lovely co-host over there,
Denise.
And we'll see you next time.
We're out.